My fiancé slept with the best man the night before our wedding while I paid for it all, so I canceled mid-ceremony and sold her dream dress online. I'm a 30-year-old guy, and I used to believe in fairy tales. Not the dragons and castles kind, just the idea that if you were good, loyal, and gave love your all, it would come back to you. I believed love was simple. You find your person, you build a life, you grow old together. That was my plan, and for a while, it looked like that was exactly what I was getting. I met Emily 4 years ago at a charity fundraiser. It was one of those stuffy corporate events. I almost skipped until she walked in wearing this emerald green dress, laughing with her whole body, not just her mouth. She was smart, charming, funny, in a quick, sharp way that caught me off guard. And when she told me she was a high school counselor who volunteered at animal shelters on weekends, I was done. Hooked. We started dating, fast texting every day, seeing each other every weekend. Within 6 months, we were talking about the future. A year later, we moved in together. And on our second anniversary, I proposed with a ring I spent 3 months' salary on. She cried. I cried. It felt like a movie. Everyone said we were perfect, but there were little things I pushed aside, like the way she always kept her phone face down, or how she'd talk about her ex like he was just a good friend who made one mistake, or how I paid for every trip, every date, and every repair in the apartment while she covered the emotional labor. Still, I brushed it all off. I loved her. I told myself love meant compromise. That I was lucky, that this was forever. Now I know the red flags weren't small. They were flashing, and I walked right past every single one. And the worst part, the real betrayal hadn't even begun. Weddings are supposed to be about 2 people coming together. Ours turned into a one-man show with me footing the entire bill. Venue deposit, me. Custom invites, me. Open bar for 200 guests, me. I even paid for the $7,800 Vera Wang gown she'd dreamed about since she was 16. She called it her princess moment. I just wanted her happy, so I smiled and handed over my card. Over and over again, she'd joke about it sometimes. Don't worry, babe, I'll make it up to you emotionally. I laughed the first few times, but after a while, it started to sting. Like I was her emotional bank account, not her partner, Emily had full control over every wedding decision. Colors, flowers, the venue, the seating chart, the DJ playlist. I'd suggest something like maybe adding a quiet lounge area for older guests and she'd roll her eyes. This isn't a corporate event, Daniel. Trust me, I know what I'm doing. I started feeling more like an ATM, with a tux than a groom. Then came Liam. She told me she wanted him as her man of honor. Originally, but then pivoted, insisted. That struck me as weird. I barely knew the guy. He'd popped up in old Facebook photos from college, but we'd never really hung out. She said they were like siblings, that she couldn't imagine her big day without him, that I was being weird for even asking questions, so I let it slide, like I always did. I didn't realize then I was financing my own humiliation. Every dollar I spent was buying her the freedom to stab me in the back with someone I never should have trusted. 2 months before the wedding, something in Emily changed. One night, she just picked up her pillow and blanket and said, I need space, I'm too stressed to sleep properly. She moved into the guest room like it was no big deal. I tried to laugh it off, tried to be understanding. Bridezilla mode, I told myself. Temporary storm before the big day, but then the intimacy vanished. No cuddling, no kisses, no playful banter. Just cold, sharp edges. Every question I asked got a sigh or a snappy response. Did you confirm the florist? Got me a glare. Did you eat today? Turned into, stop micromanaging me, Daniel. It felt like I was living with a stranger one who resented the sight of me one night. Around 1:30 a.m., I got up for water and heard her voice down the hallway, hushed, almost flirtatious. At first I thought she was watching a show on her phone. But then I caught the name, Liam. I stood outside the door, frozen. She was giggling softly. I heard her say, stop, you're so bad. My stomach twisted. I knocked firm, not aggressive. The whispering stopped immediately. A few seconds later, she opened the door, holding her phone like nothing had happened. You okay? I asked. Yeah, she said, too casually. Just going over some logistics with Liam's seating chart stuff. You know how he is. I nodded. I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her, I went back to bed with a pit in my stomach and a mind full of questions. But I told myself I was being paranoid, that she'd never hurt me like that, and so I forced myself to believe her, because the alternative was something I wasn't ready to face. Not yet Liam had always given me this low-level sense of unease, like something about him didn't match the old friend label Emily kept throwing around. He was the kind of guy who wore charm like a Cullen-heavy, artificial, overwhelming, always smiling a second too long, always looking just past you like you were an obstacle, not a person. Around Emily, he acted different. They had inside jokes I'd never heard. He called her Emmy, even though no one else did, not me, not her family. During wedding planning, he showed up at our apartment way more often than necessary. Just helping her with stuff, he'd say with a wink, but he never looked at me when he said it. What bothered me most was the way he touched her. It was subtle always, just inside the line of deniability. A hand on her lower back, brushing hair from her face. One time, he playfully nudged her shoulder, and she fell against him, laughing, and they stood there just to close, like they forgot I was in the room. I finally brought it up to Emily after one of our cake tastings. I told her I wasn't comfortable with how touchy he was. I expected concern, reassurance, instead. She rolled her eyes so hard I thought they'd stay that way. "Daniel, he's like a brother to me. You're being insecure. It's not a good look." I tried to defend myself, but she shut it down. Said I was making drama before the happiest day of our lives. The worst part? That night, she went straight to the guest room and slammed the door. I sat in our shared bed, staring at the ceiling fan spinning slowly overhead, wondering how I became the outsider in my own relationship. And the wedding hadn't even started yet. 2 nights before the wedding, Emily had her bachelorette party. She wanted it classy downtown rooftop bar, private limo, bottle service. I covered it all without hesitation. "Go have fun," I said, handing her a prepaid card. "You deserve it." She kissed me on the cheek without looking me in the eye. I stayed in that night, ordering takeout and trying not to overthink. I even cleaned the kitchen, lit a candle, and waited up, thinking maybe she'd come home tipsy and cuddly. Excited to tell me about her night, she didn't come home until 4:07 a.m. The front door slammed, and I jumped up from the couch. She stumbled in heels in one hand, purse in the other. Her dress was halfway unzipped, twisted sideways, and she reeked of vodka and something floral cheap body spray that wasn't hers. "You okay?" I asked softly. She mumbled something about the Uber being late, dropped her purse, and wobbled toward the guest room. I noticed smeared lipstick all the way down her neck, a glittery handprint on her thigh. She passed out fully clothed, still wearing one earring. The next morning, I made coffee and tried to bring it up gently. "Everything go okay last night?" she groaned, grabbing her temples. "It was just a wild night with the girls." "Chill, Daniel. God." "I'm just asking," I said. "Don't be weird," she snapped. "It's not like I stripped for strangers or something." She laughed at her own joke. I didn't. My gut twisted hard. Something wasn't right. I knew it, felt it. But every time I tried to voice my concern, she had a way of flipping it, making me feel like the clingy, controlling one. So I swallowed it again. It was growing louder by the hour. The day before the wedding felt like it was wrapped in static. Everyone was buzzing around, florists checking arrangements, planners yelling into headsets, groomsmen laughing over beers in the hotel suite. But I was moving through it all like a ghost, distracted and anxious. Still thinking about Emily's blackout night and her cold shoulder that morning. That's when Jake, my best friend since high school, and one of my groomsmen knocked on my door. He looked uncomfortable, like he'd just bitten into something rotten. "Can we talk outside?" he asked, already glancing over his shoulder. We stepped into the hallway, and I could tell he was struggling to say something he didn't want to say. "Look, man, I didn't want to be the one to bring this up, and maybe it's nothing, but I saw something last night." I froze. He took a breath. After Emily's party, I went down to the pool to take a call. It was almost 2 a.m. That's when I saw her. With Liam. My stomach turned. "They were alone," he continued, real close. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but she was sitting on his lap at one point. Man, they looked intimate. I stared at him, willing him to say it was a joke. "You sure it was her?" Jake nodded, eyes heavy. She was still wearing that sparkly silver dress. Hair up. It was her. My chest tightened, and the floor felt like it shifted beneath me. I wanted to scream, to punch a wall, to believe it was just stress playing tricks on me. But Jake wasn't a liar. He had nothing to gain by saying this still ... I couldn't blow up my wedding over a maybe. Not yet. I needed proof. Cold, undeniable, hard evidence. Because if what Jake saw was real, then everything I believed in was about to shatter. I couldn't breathe properly. My head was a storm, spinning with Jake's voice on repeat. She was sitting on his lap. The mental image was unbearable. But I needed more than suspicion. I needed certainty, closure, proof. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I bribed the hotel night manager. I walked down to the front desk and asked for the night supervisor. Told him I lost my wedding ring somewhere near the pool and needed to retrace my steps. Slid him to crisp hundreds under a folded napkin. He hesitated, then sighed, gave a tiny nod, and took me to the back office. The security room smelled like burnt coffee and cheap cologne. He queued up the footage for me. "What time?" he asked. "Between 2 and 5 a.m., I said, barely holding it together, and there it was. At 2:11 a.m., I watched Emily, my fiancée, stumbling out of the elevator in that same sparkly silver dress. Her heels dangled from one hand. She was laughing. Not alone. Liam followed right behind her, holding her waist like they were already in bed together. They stopped outside her room, looked around once, then slipped inside. I stared at the screen for over 2 hours. Nothing until 4:47 a.m. The door opened. Liam stepped out first. Shirt wrinkled, shoes in his hand, hair a mess. Then Emily, wrapped in a white silk robe. Her wedding lingerie peeking out underneath. She leaned in, kissed him, slowly open-mouthed right there in the hallway, and smiled. I felt my stomach lurch. My fingers went numb. I backed away from the screen like it was fire. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't thank the manager. I just left. It was over. Not the wedding. Not yet, but the part of me that believed she loved me. That part died in that surveillance room. I barely remember walking to the parking lot. My legs felt hollow, like they weren't even mine. I got into the car, closed the door, and just sat there, still silent. A roaring kind of silence. I played the footage over and over in my head, trying to convince myself it couldn't be real. But it was. I started shaking. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight, my arms locked up. And then it all poured out at once. I screamed raw, broken, guttural. I slammed my fists against the dash, pounded the wheel until my knuckles split open. Blood smeared across the leather like war paint. I sobbed into the silence, rocking back and forth like some part of me had cracked in half. I'd given her everything. For years. Of love, trust, a home, a future. I built her a life, and she set it on fire, like it was disposable. But what hurt the most wasn't the cheating. It was the ease of it. The way she smiled at him, the way she kissed him like it was normal. Like I didn't exist. Like I was just some dumbass paying for the wedding while she rehearsed her betrayal behind my back. I stared out the windshield at nothing. Just rain starting to mist the glass. The entire city felt like it was holding its breath with me. And then somewhere, between the rage and the heartbreak, came clarity. This wasn't just betrayal. It was calculated disrespect. She didn't just cheat. She humiliated me. Quietly, casually, like I didn't matter. I could have called it off right then. Could have blown it all up. But something in me said, wait. Let her think she won. Let her put on that dress. Let her walk down the aisle, then I'd take everything back. In front of everyone, the morning of the wedding, I stared at myself in the mirror for a long time. The tux fit perfectly. My tie was straight. My eyes, they're red and hollow. Still, I showed up, smiling, shaking hands, nodding through small talk like nothing was wrong. Inside, I was a thunderstorm, waiting for the right moment to break. The venue was packed. White rose petals lined the aisle. The string quartet played something soft and elegant. People whispered as Emily walked in, all radiant and glowing, her dress sparkling like it came straight out of a bridal magazine. Breathtaking. And yet all I could see was the silk robe, the hallway kiss, Liam's smirk. Speaking of Liam, he stood right beside me, grinning like he hadn't just destroyed my life. His confidence made my skin crawl. Every time I glanced at him, he gave me this smug, knowing look like we shared some private joke. I wanted to knock him out cold, but not yet. The ceremony went on. Her mother teared up. My uncle gave a thumbs up from the third row. We reached the vows. Emily went first. Her voice trembled slightly, which I now know was nerves, but not the kind I assumed. "Daniel," she said sweetly, "from the moment I met you, I knew you were the one. You're my anchor, my heart, my future, lies all of it." Then it was my turn. I took her hands in mine, smiled gently, and looked into her eyes. "Thank you, Emily," I said slowly. "Thank you for showing me exactly who you are." Confusion flashed across her face. A nervous laugh escaped her lips. I turned toward the crowd, and thank you all for being here today to witness not a wedding, but a funeral. The end of trust. Because this woman slept with my best man 2 nights ago. Gasps, dead silence. Then the unraveling began. I let the silence stretch. You could feel the tension, crackling through the air like live wire. My words hadn't even fully landed yet, but the ripple had begun row by row. People turned to each other in disbelief, gasping, blinking, mouths open like they'd just witnessed a car crash in slow motion. Emily froze. Her smile crumbled. "What are you talking about?" She stammered, eyes darting from me to the priest, to the guests. I didn't blink. "This beautiful woman, this radiant bride you all came to celebrate, leapt with my best man 48 hours ago. In a hotel room I paid for. While I was at home finalizing vendor payments and writing the vows she'll never hear." A murmur broke out. Someone in the back whispered, "Is this a joke?" But it wasn't. I turned to Liam. The smug look on his face was gone, replaced by wide-eyed panic. He tried to make a run for it, stumbling backward toward the side aisle, but his foot caught the leg of a chair. He went down hard. Gasps turned into actual laughter from a few shocked guests. "Daniel, stop. This isn't the time." I raised my hand calmly. "No, Emily, this is exactly the time." I reached into my jacket and pulled out the USB, walked it straight over to the priest, whose mouth had been hanging open for the last 60 seconds. "If anyone doubts what I just said," I said, "loud and clear, feel free to play this after the ceremony. Security footage, time-stamped, pool deck, hallway, room 243. The priest didn't move. Emily collapsed into the nearest chair. Sobbing, I adjusted my jacket, took one last look at the life I was supposed to step into, and walked out without looking back. I didn't run. I walked slow, steady, unbothered right down the aisle we were supposed to walk together just moments later. My shoes echoed off the marble floor as stunned guests parted like the Red Sea. No one said a word. No one stopped me, except her. "Daniel, Daniel." Her voice cracked behind me. I heard her heels clattering, catching up, her dress dragging against the aisle runner. "Please, don't do this." I was drunk. It meant nothing. I turned halfway, just enough to see her makeup streaking down her cheeks, hair falling out of its perfect updo, clutching the front of her dress like it could hold her lies together. She was shaking, broken, desperate. It should have made me feel something, but I felt nothing. Just finished dot from the corner of my eye, I saw Liam bolt out the side door like a coward. Within seconds, a black car peeled out of the parking lot. He didn't even look back. Her parents were frozen in their seats. Her mother's hand covered her mouth, eyes wide with horror. Her father looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. Meanwhile, my parents stood off to the side. My mom's eyes were glassy. My dad, he gave me the slightest nod, one of pride, not pity. Emily dropped to her knees in the aisle, sobbing into the folds of her $1,000 dress. "We can fix this," she cried. "Don't throw it away." I didn't answer. I walked out the church doors and into the parking lot. The sun was too bright, the air too still. I got in my car, closed the door, and just sat there for a second. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I just started the engine and drove toward a life that wouldn't burn me alive. The house felt empty when I got back. Not quite, like every sound had been sucked out, and even the walls were holding their breath. Her perfume still clung to the bathroom towels. Her makeup bag sat open on the dresser, brushes scattered like forgotten promises. I didn't say a word. I just walked through every room and gathered what she left behind. Hair straightener, perfume bottles, a drawer full of mismatched socks, and then, hanging like a ghost in the corner of our bedroom, her wedding dress, the infamous $7,800 Vera. Wong, she made me drive 3 states to pick up. She used to call it her dream dress. I stood there staring at it for a long time, thinking about everything I gave, everything she took. The future she shattered without flinching. Then I pulled it down, stuffed it into a garment bag, and brought it to the living room. I snapped 3 photos, one with it hanging on the back of a door, one of the tag, and one close-up of the lace, still perfect. Unlike her dot, then I listed it online. Worn once to cheat, never made it to the aisle. Condition, like new one, like the relationship. Price, $250. Or best offer. Didn't think much would come of it, but the post went viral. Overnight, thousands of likes, thousands of comments, people cheering me on, calling it legendary revenge, others sharing their own betrayal stories. Offers flooded in from everywhere. Someone even offered $3,000 just to burn it and post the video. I didn't accept any of them. Not yet, because for the first time in weeks, I slept like a rock. Knowing that her dream had become my weapon, her betrayal wasn't a secret anymore. It was content. And the whole world was watching. I thought maybe that was it, that she'd crawl into whatever hole she and Liam had dug and disappear quietly. But no, Emily couldn't leave well enough alone. She needed to save face. And in classic influencer fashion, she turned to TikTok. Her video popped up on my For You page like a slap to the face, tear-streaked cheeks, low lighting, sad piano music in the background. I was publicly humiliated at my own wedding, she sniffled. I was having a panic attack and my fiancé used it as a performance. I didn't cheat. I was vulnerable and he blindsided me. The comments were mixed at first. People sympathized. Men are so heartless. You deserved better, Queen. For a few hours, it looked like she might actually flip the narrative, but I wasn't about to let that happen. I didn't scream. I didn't drag her. I just posted the facts. A calm, well-lit video. No sad music. No theatrics. Just me, screen recording the hotel timestamped security footage, then overlaying it with the wedding day timeline and screenshots of our text messages side by side. Her saying she was at the club with the girls. Footage of her and Liam entering the hotel room together. Her denial, in a TikTok comment, my receipt of the room charge on my account ended it simply. I didn't want to post this. But I'm not letting lies rewrite reality. Do what you want with the truth. It hit 4.2 million views in under 48 hours. The internet turned on her instantly. Her comments were flooded with clown emojis, and girl BFR brands she worked with quietly removed her from campaigns. One publicly dropped her, citing integrity concerns. Her pity party became her public downfall. I didn't have to lift a finger. The truth did it for me. It had been a month since the wedding imploded, since the footage went viral, since my inbox overflowed with messages from strangers calling me brave, savage, a hero. None of that mattered to me. I just wanted peace, solitude. I'd deleted the apps, changed my number, started sleeping through the night again. Then, one rainy Thursday, there was a knock at my door. At first, I ignored it. I wasn't expecting anyone, but the knocking came again softer, slower this time. When I opened the door, there she was, Emily. Hair in a messy bun. Face blotchy and pale, holding her arms across her chest like a shield. She looked nothing like the woman who stood at that altar. She looked smaller somehow. "Please," she whispered. "Can I talk to you?" I didn't move. I didn't invite her in. She started crying on the spot. "He left me," she sobbed. "Liam," he cut me off. Blocked me on everything. I didn't say a word. I'm pregnant," she continued, wiping her nose on her sleeve. "I don't even know whose it is." That sentence sat in the air like poison. I felt it hit, but it didn't sting. Not anymore. "I made a mistake," she whispered. "I ruined everything. I know that. But please, can we talk?" I stared at her for a long time. I searched for rage, for love, for something, but all I found was pity. I stepped forward just enough so she could hear me clearly. "This door," I said quietly, hand resting on the frame. "It's closed forever." Her lips quivered. She tried to speak again, but I didn't wait. I shut the door slowly, firmly, not to hurt her, to protect me. And this time, I didn't look back. The silence after shutting that door was different. Not cold, not empty. Just peaceful. Like I had finally reclaimed something no one else could touch. I stood there for a long time, forehead against the wood, breathing in stillness. No yelling, no lies, no manipulation. Just me, finally choosing myself, The healing didn't happen overnight. I started therapy a week later, not because I was falling apart, but because I didn't want to again. I told the truth to a stranger, then another session, and another. I unpacked years of letting things slide, swallowing discomfort, dimming my instincts just to avoid conflict. I realized I'd been bleeding slowly for years, long before the cheating. Then I booked a solo trip. Nowhere fancy, just a quiet cabin up north with no Wi-Fi and nothing but snow and pine trees. I hiked, I made coffee at sunrise and sat with the ache until it softened. I changed my number, deleted the wedding photos, donated the last of her stuff, blocked her on everything. It wasn't petty. It was necessary. I reached out to people I had ghosted during the wedding whirlwind. My college roommate, my old boss, even my little sister. Rebuilding those bridges felt like finding pieces of myself I'd forgotten I missed. Eventually, I started a blog, just a tiny corner of the internet for people trying to recover from betrayal. I didn't expect much, but the emails came fast. Thank you. I thought I was alone. You put my pain into words. The support was overwhelming. And healing others became part of healing myself. For the first time in years, I wasn't Daniel, the guy who got cheated on. I wasn't a victim. Or a viral story. Still standing, still breathing, and finally free.